Well, the administration also announced they're going to cut food stamps to Minnesota because they say some of the food stamp money had been embezzled here. Are you
and those
confident
are the things that are
that
being litigated, and it is, again, unconstitutional for them to do so.
Are you confident that the fraud that has been discovered is no longer being conducted now? Is there any justification for saying this food stamp money is somehow being misused?
Yeah, there are ways to investigate fraud, which we have been doing in Minnesota, which the federal government has been doing under the Biden administration. There is no reason for them to use this level of rhetoric. There is no reason for them to fully stop funding these programs. The only reason they are doing that is for PR purposes, and it is harming our state. It is harming my constituents, and it is creating the kind of chaos and confusion that no one needs in this moment.
Because the administration and many conservative allies of the administration argue that this is still ongoing. There was that conservative influencer who went out and posted this video that went viral alleging that daycare facilities were pocketing public funds.
Yeah, and as you know, he went hours where these businesses were not operating.
Yep, CBS went out and did its own investigation.
Again, creates the level of confusion and chaos that is not necessary in a moment when we are trying to deal with a serious problem that needs serious people to be able to address it.
But do you think there was no recorded evidence of fraud according to the CBS investigation that was conducted? But Governor Walz did choose to not run for re-election. He dropped out of the race because of all of this.
Because he wants to focus on defending our state and not defending a seat.
Do you think there has been a sufficient level of accountability and ownership of the failure to have oversight here? Do you think this ends?
That is what we want. We want to collaboratively work with the administration to try to make sure that there is no fraud that's being perpetuated on our state. What we do not want is the level of terror, of confusion, of chaos that is being created without any results in this moment.
Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So credit goes to the creators in these videos. Guys, the USDA has frozen about $129 million in federal funding to Minnesota. Yes, you heard that right. This includes funding for SNAP, what most people know as food stamps, and other USDA programs that help families get access to food and essential nutrition. Guys, this is not just a small obstacle because it affects hundreds of thousands of people, including families, kids, seniors, people with disabilities. Guys, just imagine waking up and finding out that the money that puts food on your table might be on hold because some people effed up and you know absolutely nothing about it. So why did this happen? Let me score you in case you don't know. Now, according to USDA, Minnesota failed to properly prevent fraud and misuse of federal fundings. They claim that the states did not comply with certain federal rules like data reporting, participant verification, and submitted information that raised red flags. Now, the USDA is essentially saying that we need answers. Show us exactly how you spent this money or the free stays. Now, they have given the state 30 days to respond, which is not very long when we are talking about millions of dollars and thousands of families that are depending on it to survive. And of course, Minnesota officials are pushing back and they're saying that it's not helpful and they're freezing these funds and the very people this program, are meant to protect, which is true. But who exactly do we blame for this fallout? Guys, and this is not happening just in isolation. It's part of this dispute between the federal and several states, over oversight and fraud control. Now the court is involved. Some judges have already blocked similar freezes in other states, but for now Minnesota SNAP funding is on hold. Guys, this is not just numbers on papers. We are talking about real families that will be affected, kids, seniors, and the ability to access food while the legal and the political battle plays out. Guys, honestly, I feel so sorry for the depth of my heart for the people that don't know about this and are having to suffer for the mistakes of others. But because we all know the reason behind all this, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll allow these videos play and I'll see you soon.
Minnesota takes another hit while our administration cuts off the food stamps and SNAP benefits to the families there. Why are they doing this? Because they're saying that there's fraud. Isn't there fraud in the house over there on Pennsylvania Avenue? This is just another attempt to deflect and use an abuse of power, in my opinion. It's like we're going to deal with every other problem in the world, but what's really going on. And by removing these benefits, you are hurting children. The people that are on these assisted programs are families with kids. So you are okay with kids not being able to get food or get access to money for food. The majority of those people are not committing fraud. It's like you don't want us to win. You don't want us to be able to survive. You don't want us to be able to get ahead. And by taking food, something that you need to sustain your life, you are setting these kids back even more. There's so many things stacked up against the majority of us in this world right now, and you're denying food. This is disgusting. And if you're okay with that, I'm going to pray for you. I hope you never find yourself in a spot that you need help.
I just got home from work, and apparently Trump is trying to freeze all federal funding to Minnesota. Pause. I'd love to take this time to remind everyone that Minnesota is a donor state. We are a donor state. Basically, what that means is we supply more money to the federal government than the federal government gives to us. Pause. Than we need from the federal government. Okay, so here's some numbers. In 2023, Minnesota generated $119 billion in tax revenue. So that's about $7,600 per Minnesotan. The federal government sent us that same year $75 billion in federal funding. That is a $44 billion difference. Okay, so do you know where that $44 billion in difference is going? It's going where you think it's going. That's going to those red states. That is going to places like Alaska, New Mexico, West Virginia, and Mississippi, which are 4 of the top 5 welfare states in the country. So if Trump wants to pause our funding, that's totally fine. I think we should pause sending our funding to the government. Okay, so y'all can figure out where you're gonna get that $44 billion from that you're missing from us, huh? Because apparently we can support ourselves and more, and then some.
So the Trump administration froze federal food assistance money to Minnesota. SNAP, food stamps, programs that literally feed people. Children. And before anyone jumps in screaming fraud, here's the part they don't want you to hear. This wasn't a court ruling. This wasn't proven wrongdoing. This was an executive freeze justified by allegations, not verdicts. Thousands of families woke up unsure if their benefits would come through. Kids, elderly people, disabled people, working parents. And here's the bigger picture. Minnesota isn't the only one. This is part of a broader freeze targeting Democratic-led states using social safety nets as leverage. Is that law and order? That's collective punishment, you guys. And yes, courts are already stepping in because the federal government cannot legally starve people first and ask questions later. If fraud happened, perfect, prosecute. Prosecute the people responsible. But freezing food assistance to an entire state? That's not justice, that's power politics, played with empty stomachs. Remember, this moment, the next time someone says, no one wants to hurt regular Americans, because food stamps are not abstract. They're survival, okay? This could be you.
Trump administration just announced that the USDA will be freezing all funds to Minnesota. The USDA is what is used to pay for things like SNAP, WIC, our national school lunch program. We use the federal funds to provide universal breakfast and lunches to children here in Minnesota. The USDA provides grants for our farmers here in Minnesota. It supports local and small businesses. They are cutting a lifeline to Minnesota. And they've already cut the funds for childcare to Minnesota. This comes just days after Minnesota House GOP representatives went to Congress and testified that there is massive fraud in Minnesota and it's all Walz's fault. They are cutting off funds to the most vulnerable people in Minnesota. Our children will go hungry. Our families will not be able to afford roofs over their head because they can't have childcare. Our farmers will lose their farms. They gave them this arbitrary date of January 20th to prove where the funds have gone in Minnesota. People asked me when Trump was elected, how would this harm for Minnesota? Like, what would this happen? And the one thing I said is that they are going to cut our funds. They're going to cut our funds. They're going to find any way to do it. It took them 1 year. 1 year. Are we great?
Guys, let's break this down to what it really means on ground. Now, Minnesota has about 440,000 people that receive SNAP benefits, and now there's huge uncertainty. Will the benefits be delayed? Will families have to scramble? State agencies need funding, not just to hand out benefits, but to run the program, to process applications, to keep everything functioning. Now, without these federal dollars, a lot of that could grind to a halt. Yeah, I will understand what I'm talking about. The USDA freeze also eats other federal programs, not just food stamps, meaning that local governments and agencies might suddenly find themselves short on resources. And guys, think about this. When federal money dries up, it's not just about paperwork, right? It translates to empty shelves, worried parents, families having to make impossible choices. It becomes what is important, what is going to be forgone, scale of preference. Now, Minnesota's response has been to fight this in court because they say that the USDA is going too far, asking for data and recertifications that are, impossible to deliver quickly. And that cutting funding harms vulnerable communities, guys. Meanwhile, the federal government is standing firm. They are saying that this is about accountability, it's about compliance, and that the states must justify how exactly they spend taxpayer dollars, guys. At the end of the day, this is a really tense standoff because I feel that the residents are caught in the middle. Federal politics is playing out, and the courts will likely decide how this freeze is going to last. And while all this is happening, families are waiting. They are hoping that they will not be the ones to pay the price. But unfortunately, that is what will be, because this is what is going to eat most of them the hard way. And for that, my heart really breaks out, because why exactly will those that did not F around, why will they find out? Because if this freeze continues for a long time, y'all know what's going to happen. Y'all know what happened when the government was shut down and payments were halted, for a certain period of time. People were not able to get their paychecks. A lot happened. So, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I really want to hear from you. I want to know what you think. And if you have found value in this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in my next video. Ciao.